dose of inspiration, this Leviathan of meditation set to me.
Ahoy, ahoy! Welcome aboard the Nautilus, where we talk about all things sea life.
And we try not to get too off topic talking about the things that remind us of the sea life we're talking about. Hi, I'm Fiona.
And I'm Paul.
And this is Genevieve.
Hey.
My sister. And her husband Bradley. And
Hey,
of course, as the guests, they're going to start us off.
Hello, everybody.
Tell us about your fish.
Okay. We chose the peacock mantis shrimp.
I'm sorry.
That is literally what it's called.
Sounds like 3 animals in one.
Peacock mantis shrimp. Because there's varieties of mantis shrimp, and then the peacock is a specific variety of a mantis shrimp.
Is it the one that's very colorful?
It's
Yes,
very
it is.
resplendent.
It's very resplendent. Okay, this is fantastic. This is its scientific name, which I learned how to say and love. It is Odontodactylus scylaris.
Wow.
Does it have teeth? Why is the odonta in there?
Well, I don't know, actually, because I didn't know odonta had teeth. But I will tell you what it does have.
Well, I
get there
know
in a
this
second.
from last week because I did the whale.
Oh.
And Odontoceti is like the toothed whale group.
Well, maybe it's something
Dentodon.
about the material that its body is made from.
Could be that.
Because it does. That is actually a big thing with the shrimp. So it is also known as the painted mantis, the clown mantis, the harlequin mantis, and other pseudonyms. It's native to the Indo-Pacific Oceans from Guam to East Africa, and it grows about 7 inches, and it usually lives 3 to 6 years, but can live to 20. So, I know.
Wow.
Probably
a 20-year-old shrimp?
Yes. Well, lobsters can live forever. I think like shrimp
That's
and
true.
lobsters can live a long time.
That is
There
true.
are 2 extra great things about this shrimp outside of the way that it looks. The first is its eyesight. So it is supposed to have, like, presumably the best eyesight in the entire animal kingdom, specifically as it relates to colors.
How does it
So,
it relates to colors?
Yes. So, like, we have...
It can see a color spectrum?
Yes. It's got the highest... So we can see... We have 3 photoreceptors. Or, like, we have photoreceptors that can see 3 colors.
Are
Which
these
is
like the rods and the cones?
Yes. So, like, we see blue, green, and red, and then, like, dogs see blue and green. And then butterflies see 5 colors, 2 of which we don't have names for. These shrimp have 16
Wow.
colors that they can see.
And this is totally unique in, like, the shrimp kingdom?
Mantis
Or, like, the crustacean?
Yeah, well, it's actually completely... So, mantis shrimp have a lot, like, apparently they have, like, a lot of photoreceptors, but these ones, the peacock ones, have a ton, which actually makes a lot of sense if you look at them. I mean, we don't know that the way they look is any way related to their photoreceptor ability,
But they are
but
very
you would
colorful.
imagine they're super colorful because, I mean...
I'm going to look one up.
Right.
Yeah, you should all look one up right now. They're absolutely beautiful. They have, like, leopard spots and crazy colors and all kinds of things. And so their eyes are actually... Yeah, they're beautiful. Their eyes they actually look really cool. Their eyes look like a planet with a band around its stomach, sort of. It's like a 3-part eyeball.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Do they know why they can see color this way? Does it have to do with light in water?
I don't know. I don't actually know.
Wow.
Butterflies apparently have something similar, where they're just, like, seeing amazing colors all the time. I mean, you would think perhaps it has to do something with sexual attraction, but I have no idea.
It always comes down to that.
Or, like,
yeah.
finding food, or... I mean, they are very brightly colored.
They're very brightly colored.
There's this one photo. It just looks like it's gazing into your soul.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And, like,
They're
kindly
hilarious
judging you.
But
Somehow it's communicating that without eyeballs. It's
Yeah.
just a sheen of pink with it, like as if there was a small hairband around
They
it.
look
Exactly.
kindly, but they're not, in fact. Very
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
sorry.
are they
Don't be
very
fooled.
aggressive?
They're incredibly
Wait,
aggressive.
we'll get to it. Don't be
Heard of
fooled
these
by their
shrimp.
kindly or beautiful outer appearance.
Don't let it fool you. They will allure you into their trap.
A
Yeah,
couple
I'm
more
seeing
things
this
about their
differently
eyes, just
now.
because they're really amazing. They are thought to they're thought to have the most complex eyes in the animal kingdom. They can adjust the sensitivity of their long wavelength long wavelength color vision to adapt to their environment. It's called spectral tuning, and it is species specific, and I don't even know what any of that means.
I imagine it's something like a polarized lens on a
Well,
sunglass, where
is that.
you would prefer not to see the shine back off the surface of water, and so they can see through that.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, wait, that's correct. This is so typical of Bradley. He just like makes an assumption that's scientifically correct. Apparently they do see in Polaroid. Not it's polarized.
Polarized.
Like all of them have little
Like
square
Ray-Ban
photos
sunglasses.
in their little layers that they go home
They
to
do
that are on
see
a
in
string.
Polaroid. It all looks like 1985.
Yeah, it just makes sense because, like, you know, the human, what is it, the cornea of the retina? I don't know. But you know, it can limit how much light goes in, and if they're that broadly able to take in light, it would make sense that they would be able to control what direction the light is that's coming into their eye.
Right.
Well, especially if they're long wavelength color vision sensitive
Species specific. That means this is a unique
to a certain
to
species.
them,
I don't think they're
I
the
guess.
only ones. I wouldn't guess that they're the only ones that can adjust their vision for the wavelength of the color coming in, but it is a species specific thing within the mantis shrimp.
I've noticed that neither of us can say that word easily.
Species specific.
the last time
species,
I was, it's
species. Well, it's because we can't say our S's.
Species.
It's not a great word to
Species.
not be able to say on an
Species.
animal podcast.
You should write a whole song about it, Fiona.
Species
Is it
specific.
species or species?
I don't know.
Species.
I used
I
to
think
say
it's one of
species, but
those-
now I hear species more. But that sounds like
Species.
species.
I think that it's species, but it's one of those things
Species.
that just
Right.
Who cares at this point? So it's like the word buried. Like is it
Buried?
Is it buried or
Oh,
buried?
wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had a debate about this.
Or dwarf.
Or dwarf.
That one
Some
I
people
don't
say-
think
Who
is
knows?
up for debate.
Some people say dwarf.
No, actually, this is interesting. We had a debate with some friends in Vermont yesterday if it was wheelbarrow or wheelbarrel, and apparently it can be
barrow?
both.
It can be both, but I would argue for wheelbarrow pretty hard.
I did.
I was in the barrel camp.
Okay, the shrimp.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get to the best part now.
Let's do the
Okay.
violent
This
bit.
is the part that made me choose this animal, and it's really funny, and you should look it up. There are two types of mantis shrimp. Okay, there are the spearers and the smashers, and the peacock mantis shrimp is a smasher, and this means that oh boy, it punches its prey real hard with its claws. It gets better. It only gets better. That is how it kills its
It
prey.
just walks up and punches
Yes,
it.
you can watch videos. It walks up and it just decks it.
I'm watching a video.
And here we go. Okay, it is a smasher, and what that means is that it literally kills through dismemberment. It punches its prey so hard it blows it apart.
Wow.
Oh.
And so it eats the insides that are then
What
floating
are
out in
its
the water.
prey? What
The
are its
first
prey?
thing on YouTube when you type in mantis shrimp
I'll get to that.
says mantis shrimp breaks tank.
Oh, well, wait, we'll get there. That's also in here.
Okay, I'm not going to watch it yet.
All right. So here's an example. If we possessed anything near the amount of strength that the mantis shrimp has in its claw,
Something like 1/10.
1/10. If we even possessed 1/10 of the strength.
Well, let's go. It's 1/10 of the force of acceleration from
Oh
zero.
my god.
Oh, no, this is important.
Okay.
So it's not about strength. It's about the amount of acceleration from zero. So if we could move our body at the same 1/10 of the force,
With the same force at the same speed.
We would be able to throw a basketball to the moon.
What?
Yes.
I thought you were just going to say we would be like unbreakable
No.
or something.
We
like
would
that.
be able
You
to
could- you
throw
could
a
throw a
basketball to the
basketball
moon.
to the moon.
you could send
Yes.
or a baseball
Into orbit. I'm sorry, into orbit, not to the moon. That's totally different things. Into orbit.
So I mean that means
I'm still impressed.
you'd be able to
I
accelerate.
don't know which one's more impressive.
Well, just to give you a
If you
frame
get
of
into
reference.
orbit,
The moon
then
would be
like,
more, the
yeah.
moon would be very
Lot
like
more impressive.
directionally like very.
Well, but wait, but the moon's in orbit.
Well, yes, but okay, let's be. It takes about 2,300 kilometers per hour to be in orbit. And it takes about 23,000 miles per hour to get to the moon. But
Okay, well, they don't move that fast, but I do know how fast they
still,
move.
So the
accelerating
shrimp cannot get to the moon.
No,
No,
but accelerating something through the atmosphere to 2,300 or 27.
But they have
sorry,
10
2,700 kilometers per hour is pretty fucking phenomenal.
But they have 10 times the amount of the strength, so could they get to the moon? If you said it's 2,300 versus 23,000...
Wait, let us remember, we're not
I
talking
think
about
they
the
could
shrimp
throw
itself.
a
We're
basketball
talking
to
about
the
its
moon.
arm.
That's true. If a mantis shrimp were scaled up,
If a mantis shrimp was us. I mean, she was saying if we had
If
one
we had the strength of a mantis shrimp, we
full-
could throw a basketball to the moon.
that seems possible.
Into orbit.
But just at 1/10,
The math
we can
checks
only
out.
throw it into orbit.
No.
Yeah. Right. If
Because
we
that's what
had
Bradley
false
said.
hints.
Yeah.
Bradley said 2,300 versus
Go to the moon.
23,000.
But
Yes.
kilometers and miles, but still.
All right, I feel like we've digressed. Okay. Wait, back to this
I actually
shrimp.
just don't know how to do the calculation for
accelerated
27,000 miles to...
Okay, so that was that. Then, so literally, actually how fast this punches, it is 50 miles per hour. That punch goes 50 miles per hour. It's like, doom, and if it kept moving, it would be 50 miles per hour.
That's amazing they
And
can measure
underwater.
this.
Underwater. that's
Underwater,
really fast.
and
It's fast.
it's 350 pounds of force. Fiona is sneezing. Sorry. It's 350 pounds of force, which is the same as a 22 caliber rifle. So most of the things that it punches die immediately.
Why? Okay, here's my question.
Yeah.
Is whatever it's eating, does it require this much
No.
force? Why does it have
Well,
this ability?
It's crabs. It's like fully formed crabs.
It's crabs. That should
We're
be like
talking about the moon and like what a rifle can do. I don't think a crab stands
Well,
up
we're
to
talking,
that.
Darling, it's not
you have to
crabs.
reduce the mass.
No.
'cause It's a very small
Bradley,
mass.
Okay.
not
that's
true, and
true.
I'll tell you why.
I mean, it is.
I'm
It's
moving
shrimp.
forward. Listen, there's more to know here. Okay.
Like, why
so-
did it get this advantage?
Unclear. So the force of their punch causes something called cavitation bubbles, which when cavitation bubbles collapse, it's literally like boiling the water because it's so fast. When cavitation bubbles collapse, a second punch happens. It releases this like force. Wait, I actually have the okay. Cavitation is a phenomenon in which rapid changes of pressure in a liquid lead to the formation of small vapor-filled cavitiles in places where the pressure is relatively low. When subjected to higher pressure, these cavities cause bubbles or voids. They collapse. They can generate a shock wave that is strong, very close to the bubble, but rapidly weakens as it propagates away from the bubble. So basically, they're boiling the water. They punch their victim, and then when
They boil it.
they boil it, but it creates a shock wave that punches them again.
So the prey gets punched twice.
And boiled.
Very quickly in succession.
They get
boil.
punched like dunk dunk. Okay.
Okay, and what is the prey?
Now here's the thing. They are so
Crabs.
aggressive, and this is the thing. Well, no, they eat everything. They'll eat anything, but it's not always eat. They just are murderous. Okay, so they will not. You'll never see one in an aquarium for two reasons. First of all, they kill everything else in the cage with them.
Wow.
Not everything. They probably can't kill like a whale shark, but they can kill octopuses. They will kill everything around them. They're like a nightmare.
What would they do to us? Would we have like a severe bruise from this? Would it go through our skin?
Yes.
It probably would break the skin.
It would break the skin. It could break a bone.
This is
Depending
not a
on what the
YouTube
bone
video
is.
that I have found yet.
I doubt that exists. That
Is
would
like
They're-
calf,
be- you have to
like
find someone willing
someone,
to like stick their arm into like a cage. With this thing for-
These shrimp are complete a-holes.
dude. Some person out there would do this experiment.
Absolutely do this.
Absolutely.
Like some jackass
Hallway.
stunt.
No,
or-
sorry. So yeah, they punch
If only
octopuses.
Steve Irwin was around.
I would.
Jesus.
They eat mostly, but yes, they eat crabs. They eat mollusks. They punch cephalopods, but they don't always eat them.
Do they
tough.
punch each other? Do they do this
Yes.
as like a fight?
They do ritualistic fighting.
Do they kill each other? Do they like obliterate each other?
Ritualistic?
Yeah, it's ritualistic fighting.
It's not even
It's,
to do
it's
with like
territorial,
Okay,
but
is.
it's also like I think there's like I mean it's also mating displays, but I don't think if it's ritualistic, I don't think they're like out for blood all the time. It's just like they're kind of scaring each other. Well, no, but here's the thing: their outer shell, like they're obviously exoskeletons, are so strong that they're being studied for like Kevlar development purposes by armed forces.
They're just gonna march out covered in shrimp.
Yeah, because they're so strong that like they're being researched for what the cellular structure of their exoskeleton is
Wow.
for like armies and stuff. Crazy.
Soldiers just gonna like toss a
banging
shrimp
on
into
this
like
table.
the bunker. So they punch around.
Forget the suits. Let's just dump a net of these shrimp.
They, like humans, they can be both monogamous or they can just mate once with another shrimp and then leave it.
Nice.
So they also, similarly, their egg behaviors, they can carry their eggs around on the bottoms of their tails or they can, like, bury them. They just, like, have no particular behaviors. They're just kind of all over the place.
Wow.
They're just
Could not care less.
The decks.
The depth.
depths. And they learn very well. They're, like, kind of smart. They can recognize individual neighbors of theirs. They have complex social systems. And the last fact I have about them is that they are called pissing shrimp by the Vietnamese because they shoot water at people when picked up.
People pick these up.
Apparently, they're eaten in Japan. They're part of like their
I was
sushi
going to
toppings
ask,
in
are
Japan.
they eaten?
Yes, and then in Vietnam, apparently they're part of the diet. I mean, they were used in cooking.
No, I mean, they're quite small, actually. I mean, they're large for a shrimp, but they're
Well, they're
still...
1 to 7 inches.
7 inches is big for a shrimp.
Yeah, yeah.
Big for shrimp.
There's a video of them coming out and bullying an octopus
Wow.
online and punches it right in the head, and the octopus is like, whoa, like its arms go up in the air.
Oh no!
I know.
It'd be a pain in the ass.
Aren't they great?
I really like
What a weird
how
animal.
they don't have predictable behavioral
I know.
traits.
I know. They're like, well, we might carry our eggs around, or not.
We might punch
leave them
you,
here.
or
Or not.
Wow.
wow, yeah, okay.
Very cool.
What do you think? Do you want to go?
Sure.
Or wait, I went last time, so I guess I should go this time.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. In a full 180 from the mantis shrimp, I did
The most gentlest creature. in the
I
sea.
did a puffin.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to have to...
which has nothing that impressive. Well, there are a few cool things.
I'm going to have to
of course.
ask you to justify puffin, because this is a sea creature's
It is. It is.
podcast.
Well, it is a sea creature.
Well, these are all animals that live off of the sea.
Off of the sea, so...
Or primarily in the sea, and
They
I
live
could argue
around the sea, on the sea.
I mean,
they're
of
in
the
it, they're
sea.
in it on
they
occasion.
are of the sea. No,
There are
they spend
several
most of their lives at
prepositions.
sea.
I'm just saying, yeah, so explain.
Okay, wait. Well, okay. We never said that this podcast was only certain types of. It's just like sea-ish animals.
It's sea creatures, which I would argue a puffin is. It may also be sea-adjacent creatures because we're not being super dogmatic.
Sounds good.
Okay, all
I
right.
just
So
thought that the viewers might appreciate to know
that's
what,
true.
what
Okay,
what they do.
Nah, yeah, it's fair.
Sure.
So I will start out by saying a puffin is part of a group of birds called pelagic seabirds. And pelagic is the Greek word, and it literally means open sea. And it refers to different strata of the ocean. So if you took any column of water and kind of went from this level of depth to the next level of depth and then all the way further down. Anyway, that's...
I also
that's
use
the
this word.
Wait, I have
Wow.
a question about this word.
Yeah.
I was reading Shark Drunk, which Fiona talked about last week, I think, and they talk about columns of water. What is a water column?
As far as I can tell, that's all it is. It just means that if you took if you're imagining the water from like at its here's the top and here's the next sort of layer according to how currents are moving, here's the next layer maybe according to like
It has
light
a lot
penetration
of
or
light
whatever.
penetration
It
and
is
stuff.
not. It's not like there's a funnel. It
Okay,
just
okay,
means
okay.
that like from top to bottom, we're talking in terms of like
Layers
a
and-
vertical.
yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay, so they're pelagic seabirds, and they do spend more of their life at sea, either flying over it, diving in it, or floating on it, than they do on the land. And the land
Yeah.
that they inhabit is only for their breeding season, and it has to be right next to the water. I mean, it's a sea cliff or it's a sea.
Do they dive?
Yeah,
Are they
they're
one of the
diving.
diving birds? Ah.
Okay, so yeah, let's see. There's a few cute things about their names. The genus that the puffins, of which there are 3 true puffins and one sort of, this is also a kind of puffin. I won't get into that. It doesn't really matter. But the genus of which there are 3 or 4 is called Fratercula, which means little brother.
No.
after their resemblance to monastic robes. They were named sometime in the 1700s by, again, the naturalists and their
they were all
invention
like
of taxonomy, and they look like they're like monk brothers. And then the name puffin is an Anglo-Norman word. It said it's actually a total misnomer, and it was the name given to the cured meat or like the salted meat of the Manx shearwater, which is a totally unrelated bird. It's also a seabird, and they would turn it into jerky essentially, and call it puffin. And it literally means like swollen or puffed up.
Yeah, that's gross when you talk about meat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Swollen, puffed up meat.
But it was from a different type of bird. I could not find why it got transferred to the puffin and why it still is called a puffin. But that's where it came from.
I've heard seabirds are the worst possible meat in the world to eat.
Well,
they're probably fishy.
The Icelandic don't think so.
I mean, but like
there.
a sea fish to me is so much better than like a land fish or like a freshwater fish.
Sorry, Paul.
like a fresh, like a lake fish or river fish or like a inland fish. You know,
an inland fish.
Well, no, I
Inland
totally
fish.
agree with you.
A freshwater fish. If you
but like it does not taste like a salted
not
chicken.
everyone would agree with that.
I did read that like there's especially in the north, which I assume puffins probably live.
Yeah.
In the north.
They're northern.
Right, so apparently a lot of the pollutants in the sea end up being pushed because of like currents into the northern waters, and the higher up the food chain it gets, the more toxic and like repulsive it is within the meat.
Huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was in Shark Drunk. You should read it again.
I should read it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the puffin. Those are its names. They are a diving bird. Okay, let's see what my categories are. There are two types of Pacific puffin, and they are the tufted puffin and the horned puffin. And then there is the Atlantic puffin, which is just called that. As an East Coast person, I have definitely only seen, when I'm imagining a puffin, which is kind of, I mean, it's like a popular bird because it has a very particular look, and it's kind of cuddly looking.
It's like a made-up penguin.
Yeah, it's...
Penguins are already
it's like
pretty
a
made up.
combination between a parrot and a penguin.
That is what it
It's
is.
like made up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's,
Like
it's,
with
got,
a beak.
it's got
Yeah.
eyeshadow. A little bit of zhuzh to the
It's a
feathers.
Takes
zhuzh.
off the tuxedo, but it puts on some eye
It
makeup.
puts on
It's-
some lipstick, for sure.
They have fantastic beaks.
Well, we're going to get to that. Okay, but
It's
the
a
Atlantic
beautiful.
puffin is definitely the one that I have a visual association with prior to this. And if you look up a horned or a tufted puffin, which are the Pacific varieties, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I guess I realized that was a puffin, but they look pretty different. I don't know if that's just because we live on the East Coast, or whether the Atlantic puffin is just like, you know, categorically cuter, so that's the one that they make stuffed animals out of.
Right. So the horned puffin is like very colorful.
Yeah, but their faces are kind of different. The one of them looks a little bit like more conniving. Or
It's got weird eye situations.
Yeah.
I've never trusted.
Okay,
Never
the Atlantic
trust a
puffin
puffin.
has the strangest little triangle eyes.
Look at this.
Yeah, exactly. They look very like earnestly worried about
Yeah,
you,
they're
sort
like-
of.
They're kind of like.
It's like kind of like a painter tried to take like you wouldn't know it was a bird at first. If you looked at it, you'd have
It's
to
a
like
weird eye.
I
concentrate.
think it looks like what happened with the Kardashian got hold of a penguin.
A Kardashian.
Kardashian. How do you pronounce that?
It's spreading.
The beaks. Okay, we're gonna get it. The beaks. They only look that way during mating season, and this is the only.
See?
This is the, yeah.
Just more to
This
my
is the
point.
only time of. So they live out in the open water, and they spend most of their time diving, flying, or floating, and then they only come inland during the spring and summer when they're breeding. They are. What is the word I'm looking for? Monogamous. So they
Oh,
have
there it goes.
reuniting pairs
We're
every
really
year.
attracted to monogamous sea creatures. This
A
is
lot
like
of
the
them are,
fourth
though.
One out of
It
six.
sounds like
But
maybe a lot of them
it's
just are.
really interesting. Yeah, they do this same trait where they come back to their same nesting site every year. And
Seahorses to puffins to mantis shrimp.
mantis shrimp are? Did you say that?
They can be.
They're very,
they can.
They're very
Who
monogamous.
knows? They might.
They have open
They may or may not be.
relationships.
They sometimes are. sometimes
Scientists
fly.
don't understand how they find each other and their same sites every year, and this is the same for all of these return to birthing grounds or breeding site.
They don't know how they do this.
They're not sure. There's a few theories that have been put forward, including site-specific locations or markers, smells, sounds, the magnetic pull of the Earth, and the stars.
Oh!
They don't know.
Wow.
I mean,
bet it could be
that
the
sounds
stars.
absolutely like people
No.
being like, "What can we guide ourselves by?"
What about smell?
Maybe that's
Currents. Smells carried on currents. Now I'm
It
just
could be
saying
something
crap,
that we
it's
just
not
don't even have a word
That's
for it that we
I
don't
think it could be
understand.
sonar.
Sonar. It could be individual calls.
They have definitely no. Well, this is how they find
Could
their
be-
way
could
back
be
to the
telepathy.
exact site.
Right. Okay.
And it's not necessarily that they find each other. I think both of them just meet back up at the same place.
Right.
I think we're underestimating their ability to be telepathic. I mean,
I mean, that's what I mean. We it might be something that we don't even
We
have
just don't even
the explanation
have,
for.
yeah.
Some sort of like a sixth sense, and that term could encompass anything, but
Right.
like another sense, Okay, so but anyway, their beaks, they're only that colorful during this mating season, and then the rest of the year they shed a whole layer, and the beak gets smaller and very dull colored while they're floating out of the ocean all winter. Because honestly, why would you need
Right, it makes sense.
such a spectacular looking red beak during that time of year?
Wow.
They they work very they're very equal in their partnership, raising the single egg that they have. They
So-
only ever lay, hatch, and raise one egg / bird.
That's like a
at a
penguin
time.
too.
Yeah, and something to do with like black and white Arctic seabirds.
Yes, one at a time.
They
Make sure it's
take
good.
turns going out foraging to feed this chick, which has to eat many times a day. I'm looking at you.
Like somebody we know.
And the unique thing about puffins is that unlike all the other birds, which can only go retrieve one fish at a time and eat it and regurgitate it, the puffin can take up to 10 to 12 on average fish in its beak and hold them crosswise in its bill. So look up a picture of this, you'll see it. You don't even have to type in anything, just like scroll on Google Images a few in, and there's these really, you'll recognize it. These pictures of puffins with all these little fish tails hanging out their mouth, and they eat a lot of these. They eat like sardines and
so the smaller fish.
smaller
there's
fish, but
quite a
still,
few of them
but
are
this is
cool.
a totally unique thing that they can hold a fish this way, and this is because their
'Cause if they didn't, it'd be
their
gross.
beaks have a hinging mechanism where the upper and lower beak can meet at different angles. So the whole thing can like shift around depending on the shape it needs to take, just depending on how they scoop up fish and save them. And it's not like they're taking a giant mouthful at once. They can go and like
Yeah, they could put them in.
collect a few fish.
It's very cute.
It's
you
very
should
cute.
all look it up
It
right
looks like it
now.
has a big beard.
It's really funny, especially
Yeah.
with its goofy eyes. Oh boy. Very cute.
They can dive to a depth of 200 feet, but they typically only stay underwater for about 20 to 30 seconds.
200 feet?
Which, like we were talking about the Neil website, this is not an incredible feat. But yeah, they can dive down. I mean, they can. 200 feet is that's sort of like
That's their max.
the max that we know that they go to. They have exhibited some sort of like very advanced bird brain tendencies. The main thing that people have seen them doing is using sticks to scratch themselves. So there's not overwhelming evidence of, but some evidence of using tools. They can fly pretty fast, considering that they have these little short wings that are a lot better for diving and swimming and water navigation versus flying, but they can flap up to 400 times a minute.
What? Wait, how big are they?
They're under a foot. They're like 10 inches.
They're like
on average.
little tiny.
They're actually pretty little.
Oh, I always
Well, it's
imagine
usually like
them.
the smaller the bird, the faster they fly.
I always imagine
Right.
them being like, what is this? Like a foot and a half, 2 feet? What is that?
That's not a foot.
That's like a
That's
foot,
like a foot.
maybe.
That's like a foot. So that's about the
Oh.
size they are.
I'm
We're
confused
talking
about
about the
what foot is.
microphone. They live for about 30 years. This is quite parrot-like
Whoa.
overall. And then as far as what we were talking about, like whether we eat them or not, I don't have any sort of reports on how good the meat is. But in Iceland, they form a part of, it was written as the, quote, national diet. Who knows what that means? I suppose it means somewhat traditional. Maybe, like in the sense that, like, this is a food that is like a, it has a cultural place in, like,
I feel like
they serve them on hotel menus, it said. I haven't been there. But it is, the puffin is not protected in Iceland, so people are free to hunt it. And actually, an island off of Iceland, the Westman Islands, or maybe this is a group of islands, this is an interesting fact, has the biggest puffin colony, so that they live in colonies. They're very social. It has 1.1 million nests and 4 million individuals of Atlantic puffin. And there are an estimated 3 to 4 million pairs of Atlantic puffins in the whole world.
Oh.
So when you think about pairs, so there's 3 to
So
4
it's
million.
like 6 to 8 million.
6 to 8 million, and 4 million of them live in this colony on the
Oh
Western
my
Islands.
gosh.
So anyway, the Icelandic traditionally eat them, and still serve them as a cultural food, and like they go out and hunt them, and the sort of the delicacy is to eat the raw heart.
Ew, it's like Game of Thrones. I feel like every time there's like a delicacy, this is an unpopular opinion, that probably means it's gross. But people have like a developed appetite for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like delicacies are never just like a thing you'd snack on.
Yeah, it's never like fried chicken.
Yeah, it's
like
always
everybody
like
just
something
likes
It
fried
is
weird.
something weird.
Yeah, well,
and
Like
There's
ceremonial,
usually
like
something-
small and weird, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
cultural. It has like a cultural value.
Yeah.
Because it's rare.
Yeah.
So like I'm thinking that puffins are not a snack.
Oh, they're a legit snack.
I would like to hear described like what they taste like. If you eat like a puffin like chicken wing.
they're going to say
Yeah.
it tastes like chicken.
Who says that?
Yeah,
Everyone
who said
says
it?
that about birds in general.
But seabirds, I think.
People say that-
I've
Have
heard
you
seabirds.
eaten
I mean,
are
people
really
say that
gross.
about everything.
I have.
People say that
but I always
alligator.
hear that
Alligator
they're
doesn't
really
taste like
gross.
chicken.
You heard that
you
seabirds
know
are
what?
gross.
Seabirds are like very gross to eat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've heard
Okay, I
this over and
haven't
over
heard
again.
this. I ate fried caterpillars one time.
Oh, they're okay.
And I have to say, if you... Bradley's motioning me to stop making ambient noise. Yeah, I have to say, like, if someone was like, what do they taste like?
Nothing.
Well, no, chicken. I mean, because when you fry a lot of meat that isn't red meat, the best thing we have to equate it to in terms
Is
of what is
chicken,
everyone else going to understand
I
is
guess
chicken.
so.
That's why you say
but if
that.
you
all the
fry,
time.
I feel like I mean, I've had fried beef too, and it tastes like chicken. I mean,
But
it's
that's
just-
red meat.
It all tastes like
Yeah, red
We're
meat.
talking about
anything
other
fried
birds
just
and
tastes like
insects
fried.
and things like that.
Well, let's
Well,
try a puffin.
Fried tastes
Let's
like
go to
fried.
Iceland.
do
Let's
it.
try a puffin.
We were
And
talking
I'm
about
gonna
going to Iceland.
Google how does puffin taste. Soaked in salt water, smoked with wood chips and dried sheep dung, then boiled for 2 hours in a sweet malt beverage before being refrigerated, and finally served bone-in and cold alongside a packet of butter. Smoked puffin
Ooh.
tastes briny and a bit fishy and musky sweet in the manner of mesquite barbecue. That sounds great. I'm reading reports here that it's very good. It's like a smoked thing. I'm seeing a few things that people were a fan.
Oh, all right.
All right, Paul, you're up.
The final fish, and my fish, is not a fish. It is a Portuguese man of war. Or a Portuguese man o' war. It's not of war, it's o' war.
What is it?
Yeah, what is it?
It
a man's war?
is.
It's a Triple Crown winner.
There are many references to Man of War, which was a Triple Crown winner. And it's also.
Is that a horse thing?
Yeah. He won the Triple Crown.
I got that part. I didn't know what he was.
He's a horse. But I'll explain where the other name comes from. But it's a Sophonophora. It's a Sophonophora. Sophonophore.
That helps me less than annoying something as a horse.
Everybody take a break for 1 second. It is a Sophonophore. Which is not a single organism like a jellyfish, but is actually a colonial organism that's made up of a couple
Oh my
used
God.
to be independent organisms.
Yes, I
that
read
have
about these
now
this week.
like learn to live in a completely like codependent way, and they can't live individually anymore.
Yes.
So a Portuguese man of war is like the largest, what we would call jellyfish. In the
Wait,
world.
this is hilarious. I was going to do this, and then I decided
Really?
on the peacock shrimp instead. I'm so glad that we didn't do the same animal. I didn't know they were called man of war, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like super long. They're bigger than granks.
Yeah. Well, I'll get.
What are
I'll get into the lines. Don't steal my show with your
I want to
lines.
steal your thunder. Okay, I also can't talk.
But I'm sorry. I need to just make sure that's clear.
What is
This is a.
So
It's functioning as a single organism,
Yes.
but it is made up of.
It
it is actually genetically made up of a couple different organisms that
It's like Monty Python.
actually evolved as individual organisms, which kind of led me to like a question that I haven't been able to sort out. So I'm going to put it to us and the listeners to try to figure this out.
To them.
But so yeah, they're made up of 4 or even more genetically distinct species of zooids, which are just like these individual like polyp, like a jellyfish is a single zooid. But a Portuguese man of war is made up of at least 4 individual zooids.
It's like a megazoid.
Yeah, it's like a megazoid. And they're...
That sounds made up.
And so, like, the one
It's-
floats on top of the water, which is, like, what you see above the water. And this what it's got its name because, like, its crest, it has, like, this bubble that's filled with gas. And, like, this crest, and it looks like a Portuguese man of war, which is, like, this warship.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I have so many questions. Are these single-celled organisms that are making up
No.
this? Okay.
They're not single cell. I mean, the Portuguese man of war is like 160 feet long, like this.
But it's like
collection.
the individual zooids are not single-celled
No.
organisms.
It's
Okay.
like
They're
the head.
teenagers, right? Like they were endowed with special powers by an alien to protect the Earth.
I know.
He's
And
onto
then
something.
they just-
And when they come together and they
And then they come
transform,
together,
and
yeah,
they
they're
do-
like
and
Transformers.
then they form the Megazord.
Is that what a
I know.
megazoid is?
Oh,
Bradley.
no one's got my Megazord joke.
No.
Oh.
Power Rangers?
You're the wrong audience.
Come on, Power Rangers, Paul.
I had never watched Power Rangers
Man,
in
y'all
a long time.
are lacking. Green Ranger
Okay.
forever.
Shut
So
down.
the one Zoid floats on the surface, and the second is another one. The second of one is these tentacles that are anywhere from 30 feet to 160 feet long.
That's insane.
And they just spread all throughout the water column. And like these organisms, they have no propulsion system or anything. All they do is sit on the surface of the water and drift around.
Like, what is their purpose? I know that's a stupid question, but like, what?
They
ask themselves that a lot, and there's I think Diderot had
what
some
is their
comments on
they
it.
reproduce, which was my big question. Is like if they're actually a couple individual organisms, how do they reproduce? Because
it's
it's
like
not
the same
one strand of
four organisms
DNA that just like
reproducing
gives you.
together.
Because if it was one
Yeah.
strand of DNA, that would be a single organism. But the way this was described is that there were like several different codependent organisms. But as far as I found, there was only one of these zooids that was responsible for reproduction. So I just don't understand how they, as this collection of organisms, reproduce.
Why? What is with the
Hey,
like
that's a good idea.
the fan?
Why do they have this fan?
Why they have this floating, this spine?
I don't know why they have the spine. That's just like their flotation device.
Why do they need to float?
Yeah, why can't they just go underwater?
Because they float. So they are a pelagic creature, which means the pelagic creature that I saw just means it lives on the surface of the water.
Oh, like a pelagic seabird.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it just like lives on the surface, and their only thing that they actually do like to control their movement, if they feel threatened, they have this like blow off valve. They'll deflate and they'll like go underwater for a little bit just to like protect themselves, but then they'll always just float up.
I like that this creature is
Like
a
they
they.
don't-
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're like a couple different organisms.
Right.
so-
Very progressive creature.
But I think it's because they don't have any propulsion system. So if they didn't have any propulsion, they would just like float underwater. But at least they're just like oriented on the surface, and then they just have these tentacles.
So
which,
they're
like I
just
said,
there most of the time. Like if you see this animal, it hasn't surfaced. It's just living where it always lives. It's just
it just
floating.
lives- yeah, and it just floats with the currents or the winds. So part of the thing with the fin is that it actually does catch wind and it kind of like drifts
It's a
along with
directional thing, maybe.
it. Yeah. And
But we don't. So we just. Does anybody know how they reproduce, or is that just like one of those weird like we don't know how they reproduce?
I mean, it said like we don't know much about. It's kind of a mysterious, like evolutionary niche because it kind of seems that these individual organisms like somehow evolved to all work together, but it was as if. But they gave up so many like functions as individual creatures that they couldn't like independently live anymore.
This is how life works, though, because if you think about like right before the, I forget what it's called, Endyak or something like that, prior to the, like proto animals, it's like single cell organisms working together until they can't work separately anymore, and that's the first multicellular organism.
Right.
So like, who knows what this thing would be in like another 500 million years.
But they have these tentacles which go down into the water column and just kind of fan out with the currents. They're up to 160 feet long, and they have these poisonous barbs on them, these like coils, which whenever they brush into something, they just inject this venom.
The AJ.
Which when it stuns and like eventually kills the prey, and then it's just like totally this like mechanical thing where once they like get some disturbance, then the tentacles just retract, and so it draws the prey back into this other zooid that lives like within the structure.
Which one of the
just,
4+ zooids have the tentacles?
like one of the zooids is the tentacle thing. One of the zooids is the tentacle thing. Another one is the part that like digests the fish. And they just break it down into like proteins.
So this is just like a Frankenstein. Like it's just like pieces stuck together.
Just like kind of a horrific Frankenstein. And sometimes there will be like these colonies of them, like 1,000 plus, and they'll just like decimate like a fish population in an area.
1,000 of them though.
Yeah, like 1,000 man of wars.
Like I was imagining these things as being fairly isolated.
Yeah,
I mean, they can be, but they can also like there's like reports of them being like this huge collection of them because they'll just like drift and reproduce together, and then they'll just like go into like
If they get stuck in a
place.
current where they don't drift apart,
Wait,
they're just
yeah.
like
How do they eat?
They
they catch
decimate-
fish with their tentacles.
Yeah.
But then they retract it up, and they have this really simple digestive mechanism that just breaks down the fish.
They just like inject digestive juices into
Yeah,
the
they
fish.
just like turn them into liquid, and then
that becomes part of them too.
yeah, it becomes the fifth zooid. But the
pretty
like
wild.
the toxin from their tentacles is like extremely toxic, and it, like in really rare cases has been known to kill people if you get like a really high exposure to it. But if you are stung, I just want to put this out as a PSA. You should not put vinegar on it, which is kind of like one of the methods you could do because this can actually make it worse. You should put ammonia on it.
How do you get ammonia? Where do you buy ammonia?
You
I
pee
think
on
if
it.
you're just going to
Any
Australia, where a lot of these are, is for a lot of the...
Wait,
Yeah,
they're called
go
the
to the
Portuguese man o' war, and they're
well, they're all
predominantly
over.
in
They're
Australia?
in tropic and subtropic climates, but a lot of like the reports of people getting stung by these Portuguese men of war are in Australia.
Do they tend to be like
Where?
more toward the shorelines? Or are they like out to sea?
You find them on like washed up on beaches because they'll just like go with the current and then just wash up on a beach, and then like the whole beach will have to shut down.
That is a hell of a freaking thing to find on a beach.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weird that we've never heard of this before, Fiona.
I mean, I knew of it. I didn't know any of these details about it. I certainly didn't know that it was 4 different organisms that had combined.
Yeah, which is really distinct from like a
Habitually.
normal jellyfish. A normal jellyfish is just like one organism,
Right.
but this is like this like symbiotic collection of them.
I wonder if it's so many. I don't know. In my mind, there are just more people scuba diving around Australia than a lot of
Yeah.
other places. So that's why. I mean, like, but
You
the
hear of all, like, the
name,
attacks
the
and
name
stuff.
Portuguese man of war does not mean it is centered around the
No,
Portuguese coastline.
it was named because it actually looked like the ship, like the Portuguese man of war, which
I
is
can't
Right.
find a picture.
It
of
doesn't
this.
mean that this
was like
is the area.
this was
that's-
probably named during the era when the Portuguese like fleet navy was like really prominent and it like really looked like this.
Just type in ship at the end of the search.
Okay. I really just like looking at it. It's absurd looking.
Honestly, this ship looks like
It's like a psychedelic porcupine.
a lot of other ships, and I'm someone who doesn't know my ships, but
Ew,
like
I hate it.
If I'm remembering rightly, the Portuguese man of war had a particularly swoopy deck line.
Yeah, this has a sticky bubble.
Ugh, I hate it. Sorry, I
You
hate the
hate
way
it?
it looks. I mean, it's awesome, but I can't handle the way it looks.
Okay, but I'm going to continue on with the treatment. So you should put ammonia on it, and then you put shaving cream on it, and then shave the area where you get stung.
Shave
Oh.
it.
Shave it.
Because it
this like
reacts
gets,
with the sulfur in the hair, I guess?
yeah, and shaving it will like really remove all of the toxin or whatever, and then you have to clean the razor between each swipe and do it again.
God help you if you get caught, though.
And but as deadly as this is, there it does have some predators. The loggerhead turtle
nice.
is its skin and shell is too thick for this, and it'll eat it up.
So it doesn't
And,
get the toxins from eating it?
No, okay, and also the blue sea slug and the violet snail, which is also this pelagic like these crustaceans that live like they're like inverse pelagic creatures. So like they don't live on the surface of the water; they live like attached to the surface of the water on the underside.
What does that mean?
So like they're attached to the surface. They somehow use the surface tension of the water, but they're underwater.
Oh my god.
So like they're upside down. Yeah,
That's insane.
This
they
is
go-
a snail?
one's a
Slug.
sea slug and one is a snail, and they're both like this. And
they're
somehow
predators of the man of war?
they somehow are predators of the man.
What?
I don't know if I don't think they eat the whole thing because I think these are pretty small, but they might just like go up and chew on them or something.
What?
I don't even understand the physics. Bradley, go.
Well, I mean, surface
yeah,
tension's
surface
pretty
tension.
strong.
Surface tension's a thing.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of a creature being like attached to the surface from the underside, which is pretty
This
crazy.
is like a bat.
All right, we'll have to offline this later. I don't understand surface tension, but don't get into a lecture.
Okay.
And also, the sunfish was like those really big, ugly, weird-looking fish.
Oh yeah, all
they
about
eat,
them.
They eat a lot of Portuguese man of war, and also the blanket octopus, which is this kind of octopus that is immune to the venom, and it's been observed that these ones will like break off a tentacle or find a tentacle that's like broken off because they'll still be really like venomous long after they're like dead or detached from like the host or whatever, and then this octopus will use it as like a weapon, either for like defense or offense. Like it'll carry it around and like use it to kill
I love octopus.
or like
They're
defend
so
themselves from like other sea creatures, which I think is really
It's
cool.
it'd be like finding like a bear's arm and be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, this bear's arm that still has like attacking claws.
maul the shit out of something.
Yeah, or like a mantis shrimp like
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
But, like,
like punching
arm that's
Yeah.
still punching.
How do they actually wield
Like
it?
attach it to one of those like hand puppets with the
I
punch.
don't know. Like I think they just like carried around with them and they'll just like
Just,
just like wave it or something.
You know, do you
know.
know cuttlefish do that thing where they like raise their arms up?
yeah.
Maybe they like hold it up just to scare
Yeah,
people away.
just like
Or maybe
just, like,
all it
string
takes
out,
is
like in those.
they're just dragging it behind them and seeing
Maybe
what
they're
it
dragging it
scoops
I'm just
up.
getting like visions of like Iron Man 2 with like
Are they using it?
Mickey Rourke's.
Are they using it like
Lightning arms.
predatorially, or
Yeah.
are they using it defensively?
both.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been as they're using both. So like defend themselves against whatever else with this tentacle, or they'll use it to like attack prey. with it.
Okay, I have a lot of questions. I'm gonna try to keep this short. What if you think about all of the myriad things that can exist inside of an animal organ-wise, what exists inside of a man of war? Like, is it just a stomach?
Well,
Like, there's
like I
not a
say,
nervous system.
no, it doesn't have a central nervous system. It has like it's made up of these like individual zooids, which like these like jellyfish blobs
But what do they have
of
inside
like
of
sea
them?
creatures. Like
Not
one,
a
they're
lot.
like super specialized. So one is literally it just exists. It doesn't have a digestive system or anything. It's just to like float on the surface of the water.
And there's one that's just
It doesn't have a
stinger.
reproductive system. It doesn't have a digestive system. There's one that just has a reproductive system, the gonozoid. And
what? This is so weird. So
there's
just
one
like
that's just has a digestive system.
So this is
used.
what
like,
makes it alive?
Your question is like
What makes it alive?
It
No, this is
itself
like-
That's a
is
good
just
question, yeah.
like a blob of organs.
Yeah. I mean, that's
It's
I guess what we
We're
are.
talking about an animal as if we broke a human down and we were like, well, it's weird. It's just like a liver and a heart and and an intestine got together and with a brain and then it
No, but
formed
it's
this.
different. But it's different because a liver did not exist on its own, and then it just like coalesced with like it got together with the kidney and everything. These like the individual parts existed in evolution.
I'm just curious.
And then formed together.
And then each of them lost the other parts that they didn't need.
Yes.
I mean, it's wait a second.
So it's like our livers and organs and hearts were just like independent creatures, and then they just like got together and made us. Like that's what this creature is.
Right, that's what I mean.
Well, and you have to work-
symbiosis to its extreme.
You
Yeah.
have to wonder, like, at some point, it would probably develop a nervous system. I assume, right? Because it becomes an animal at some point. It's probably just, like, early in its evolutionary development. But I guess my thing is, like, so at what point... Oh, gosh, now we're getting into the bicameral mind thing again.
What point
But,
is
like,
it conscious?
Yeah,
Well, it's
well,
also-
no,
When
not
does it start
what...
hearing
No.
the God voices?
What?
It's also,
But, like,
it's
we
also
know it's
advanced in its
organic.
evolution.
We know it's organic, but at what point is it, like, a living creature?
But
No, that's like
It
the
isn't
same
true.
argument you can make for like a virus or anything. Like, can you really argue that this is like a living creature? Or is it
I
just
guess
like
you.
this?
I think you can with a virus. So I guess any
I
cellular...
think the argument
I mean-
is
No, the
if
argument
it
is very
reproduces,
precarious
it's a
with the
living
virus.
creature, is what I've heard.
Okay.
But
But is
I don't
every
know.
part of this a living creature, or are there just like husks that do things in certain places?
Well,
They're
Well,
all
uh,
living in that they're like dynamic and they react to its surroundings and everything.
I
yeah.
can't remember
But
whose
you're saying-
rule these are, but like being able to reproduce is a requisite for life. Like, those are someone's rules. I can't remember. And so this creature isn't technically able to reproduce because it can't.
Well, pieces of it are.
Well, it does. I tried to look up the reproduction because this was really confusing to me. Because how does it reproduce if it's like a bunch of like...
The reproductive bit of it is.
But I guess
like,
we have reproductive
independent-
pieces too.
Well,
That's
codependent,
where I'm
like,
stuck is like
species.
how similar are we to this in the sense that we're made up of a bunch of like individual
Well,
organs?
there is interesting that there are.
But we're
technically-
all the same strand of DNA, which I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know if
true.
these
Oh,
are.
this
Which is
may
a really
not be.
confusing thing.
But we do, in fact, have two brains. Our gastric system and our everything else operate independently.
What do you mean?
There you go.
Like your gut instinct, like it's not literally that, but your gut does operate independently of the brain.
I know. I mean,
What?
I hang out with Paul.
This is the. What?
I get one of these in an episode. It's really
Let's not get too sidetracked.
Oh my god.
But a couple other cool facts. It does have there are a couple fish that have like evolved to just live amongst the tentacles of these.
I saw that in the
Portuguese man of
picture.
war.
I thought
Yeah.
it was hunting or
Yeah,
like
no, these fish.
dredging.
There's fish that live in a symbiotic relationship, like the shepherd fish and the yellow jack, just like live amongst the tentacles, and they'll live amongst the long tentacles, and they'll feed on the short tentacles. So they'll eat the short tentacles of the man of
They
war.
prune it.
What?
They prune it, but the man of war also benefits because these fish will act as lures for other fish to come, which the man of war eats.
Why? Why are they lured to that fish?
Because they see the fish and they want to eat
Because they see
the
the fish and they want to go eat the fish.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay, I
they're
get
just
it.
like attracted to.
So it's like a symbiotic relationship within the most symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
layers of symbiosis.
This is
It's like the
It's
inception
kind of
of
like dark symbiosis.
Do they
Yeah.
swim with the man of war, or do they like adhese themselves, or like do they wrap? Do they wrap
The fish is that kind of goes like, hey, can I hang along? Can I
Well, no, I don't know, because some
Get a spot
fish
for me?
have the
I got a
ability
spot.
to literally attach, and some just
These
like
fish
swim
don't
next
attach.
to.
They just swim amongst.
But they want to.
tentacles.
They want to attach. It's really annoying to the rest.
I guess you don't
They
need
click
to
right
attach when the animal itself isn't propelling itself anywhere. It's just
Yeah.
floating.
The Portuguese man of war does not move very fast, so it just mostly floats there.
Does it
What?
have the ability to propel itself?
No.
Could it
No.
move? No.
No. The only thing it can do
It
is,
has a sail?
is deflate its little bubble sail, and it'll go underwater a little bit, but then it just comes back.
So it just moves like a boat, but just less purposefully.
Is the sail part on top?
Yeah, the sail
Yeah.
part is on top.
No, I know. Is the sail part on top? This is so not
They can't
important.
change the direction.
But I'm curious about everything. No. I also don't mean that. Does it deflate when it gets sad, like an orca in an aquarium? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Is like that part doesn't need to be wet, or it's just like getting splashed enough that it is, or like if it's on a very still, like if it's becalmed, is it just like fine being dry and being like windy all the time?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Huh. Maybe it's like fingernails.
Or maybe it just kind of dips itself in to get wet. How is
Yeah.
it like fingernails?
Our fingernails.
It's decorative.
Maybe it's like our fingernails. Like if we grew them out really long, we wouldn't have to like make sure they got water time every day. Like they're just fingernails. They're just like calcium deposits. Maybe this is just like a kind of like
Well, it's not calcium
organic
deposit.
substance that doesn't necessarily need anything.
The other thing I can't tell from the photo.
But I guess it would because
No,
it
that's a
deflates and
that's a
inflates,
really
which
good
means
thought.
that it needs some kind of like it needs to be humid
Well, it needs to be like flexible.
because something rigid
It's just like
can't.
this
Yeah.
bag. This like
Yeah, it's a
deflatable bag.
wet deflatable bag.
Purple blue bag.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's
really
the other
gross.
thing I was going to ask. This color. It's so beautifully like Lisa Frank pink and electric blue and purple.
Yeah,
is this
it's very
a
beautiful.
trick of the light thing? Because here's one where it looks very clear. What's with the color spectrum?
I'm not sure.
I mean, light.
It might just be like the light is reflecting around it, the light in the water, the light from the sun or anything. Or
It
could just be
so weird. Look, it is
Yeah,
so
it makes
weird.
me gag.
It's Genevieve has a strong and prevalent gag reflex, but I agree. It is simultaneously so gorgeous and so just like it's
Blech.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like
man.
as a human, this is a very foreign.
It's just
looking-
like a puffed up fancy slug.
I mean, as far as I know,
I thought you.
It's a fancy slug.
Like a fanny pack, and I was like, it does.
Not one of those conservative
it's the shape of a
slugs that
fanny
just
pack.
goes about it business. It's a slug about town.
A slug about town.
slug about the current.
I don't know if it's about town. It's not moving anywhere fast. Oh, here's
Oh, that's how you know.
Here's a, like, as if someone had, like, baseball cards, but, like, sea creature cards. We should have these. Here's one attacking, like, a really distressed-looking great white shark.
Yeah, got me.
Look at it's got like an upside down face.
It's like, oh, no! Wow, this is from a game. Oh,
my
I'm not
gosh.
going to get into this. Okay, it's from The Gathering. Whatever. But that's
Oh.
cool. I mean, good for them.
good for them. Good for
All right,
Magic
guys.
Together.
Good week.
Good week. Very good.
Good.
Well done.
Jolly all around.
Oh, and I wanted to mention, just as closing, I've been ruminating on your question about teeth with the
What was my question about
odontodactylus. Here's what I think it is.
Oh.
Dactyl is, I think, hands, right?
Dactyl.
Dactyl?
Dactyl.
So if it's something about, like, the tooth, like, because they think of, like, pterodactyl.
It means, like, tooth punch.
Yeah. I think it has something to do with, like, like, their, I think what they're made out of is, like, a tooth material.
Wow.
A dactyl is a metrical foot consisting of one stressed syllable. That has something to do with...
Oh, well, that's
No, that has
different.
something to
But,
do
like,
with linguistics.
pterodactyl.
That's what I was referring to with my dactyl.
Okay,
Sorry. Yeah, well, I just wanted to throw that out there.
divergence.
Tangents are
We need
fun.
like a linguist on the team.
Oh, here's an idea. Somebody should write in. There's no information on how to write in, but somebody
There
should.
will be.
There will be. Somebody should write in and tell us.
We have
what-
Heading
emails.
to 555 Fifth Avenue, New York. New York, New York.
Crickets at gmail.com.
10055.
Write in.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Yes, we need a dose of inspiration. This Leviathan meditation set to me.